Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to people in the business community around Wadsworth, and school system, city government, and also some county representative as well. We're so excited today to have Isham Elementary School featured. Kim Hake, fourth grade teacher, is with us, along with Betsy Pettit, kindergarten and literacy coordinator, one of three, I guess, in the building, and Steve Brady, principal of Isham Elementary. Thank you all for joining me, and we're here to highlight the building winning the Blue Ribbon Education Award. Kim, did you think the building had the right stuff to win such a prestigious award?
We did. You know, we all know that children can't learn and achieve such high standards unless their social emotional needs are met. So we work as a team with our teachers who have high expectations, and the leadership from administration, and our community involvement, parental involvement. All of those go hand in hand. Our counselors help with that social emotional piece as well. So really, when you can't have one without the other, and so if you go for one without the other, you're not going to make it there. But you know, we do have all the right stuff.
So you're saying it's a comprehensive approach. It's not one entity. It's just a myriad.
You have to balance all of that. You have to balance the expectations and the social emotional, and it takes time to build that social emotional, that trust, and the building relationships with the student. And so luckily we don't have to do it alone, and we've got lots of support.
Any extra pride from the staff? It was a national award. Now, there are many, local awards and state awards, which are very well and good and very prestigious. But this was a national award, and I would imagine a lot of schools did not receive that award certification. So, did it make a little bit more pep in your step the next when you found out?
I mean, we wore blue all week when we were waiting to hear. And we are grateful that we have so much support in this district, and we do feel appreciated. But it is a little extra special to feel like it was noticed nationally. It will probably be the highlight of our careers.
What about during COVID? Was it kind of a pick-me-up when you really were dealing with some things you couldn't plan ahead of time too much, and it was very difficult to be an educator during that time, I would suppose. So did this help a little bit?
Yes, talk about the highs and the lows. But when you're at a difficult time, you really just have to pick yourself up and find the silver lining, and find the good. I was a wired teacher, so it was probably the most difficult career or part of my career I've had to this point, but I found so many great parts. I found some relationships with students that I don't know if I would have ever had if I was in the classroom. And so you really do have to look at those parts as well. But coming back to the building the following year and working together and filling out the very extensive application, it gave us something to be positive about and remember that we are doing the right thing.
Kim, you gave us a good segue for Betsy's question about application. Anything we work with the national government, whether it be income tax, which some of us are going through now, and some other situations, it's not a simple process. Could you let me know how the building broke down that process?
Well, just like Isham, we worked together as a team, and we started with a meeting, and everyone kind of looked at the application and decided which piece would best suit them to highlight and feature the wonderful things about Isham and what we're doing for the children. So we had members of our special ed department on there. We had our counselors involved. We incorporated a lot of information just from everybody in the building, as well as some of our PTO members, just to kind of contribute some things that we are doing for the children in and above, what we do every day. And then we were able to organize and delegate a couple of leaders to start typing up our important message that we were sending, that Isham is awesome, and here's what we do, and here's how we do it. So it was very extensive, but oddly enough, even though everyone kind of wrote their own part, we all meshed. So everyone had the same message coming across, that kids come first, and this is how we help our kids.
Sounds like the no stone was unturned. This was a very comprehensive, and you really couldn't hide if there were some deficiencies. You couldn't hide that because it was so comprehensive.
Well, and I think for a lot of us, some of our history came out too, and when you start to really see how many wonderful things we provide for the children of this community, it's really like, wow, we are pretty amazing people here, and we can't do it without the parents and obviously, you know, our administrators. But when you see the things that we offer for children, it is quite remarkable, and they really do get a fabulous experience here at Wadsworth City Schools, no matter what building they're in.
And Bruce, if I may mention,
Yes, please, Steve.
There's some applications or awards where schools may see an award and they will submit the award. The Department of Education came to us because we met that criteria, and we heard back in maybe January of 2022 saying, Isham Elementary, we want to let you know that you met this criteria as being a school of excellence. You may now fill out this application if you wish. And like Betsy mentioned, it was a little long application. So, you know, them coming to us saying, you've met this, now submit this application. Then we want to review it again to see if you're meeting the criteria that we think that you met. And obviously we didn't meet that criteria for them. So,
If the staff are helping to compile the final report, that has a buy-in for them. They're invested. They again have a lot of pride in the building, and again I think it shows the continuity of that building too, and that speaks volumes. How things in the past. I think Kim mentioned about the foundation in the past. That really helps, doesn't it?
it does. And again, when I found out that the Department of Education came to us about filling out the application, I went to the staff and I said, what do you guys think? Are we in this together? We want to do this because it's going to take a team to do this, and without a doubt, they jumped on it right away. Absolutely, we're going to do this. And again, I'm going to go back to Nancy Watts. She was a principal there.
Amazing.
Amazing principal for 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And she really laid the groundwork, set the foundation, brought in some great staff members at Isham. So I want to just make sure that Nancy Watts is being recognized, because without her, this award probably wouldn't possibly not be here for us without her leadership in the role of principal at Isham School.
So it doesn't sound like you had to give a lot of pep talks.
Not at all.
Things are going awry for the Guardians. Tito even once in a while has to bring the boys in and say, guys, come on. That's not...
I had a speech ready. I'm ready to go. And okay, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
What about the support staff? You know, we talk about a building, and I was always an advocate that, boy, if the bus is late, then the first graders can't get down to their popcorn words or their sight words,
exactly
Mrs.
right.
Pettit. And you know, if the secretary is ill and you have someone filling in, things get a little hairy in the office. So the support staff is really a key to and vital to a building success, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, we talk about staff, team. They are an integral part of that. I mean, we couldn't do what we do without them, and that goes from our cafeteria, like you mentioned, Bruce, with the bus, our aides, attendants, secretaries, everybody. They help not only the staff member, but the students so much as well. So they really work well with our students, and again, I feel like our support staff is a big part of our family here at Isham School.
Were you a little pensive with the wait? Sometimes you know, your mind races and you say, well, boy, that one section could have been a little better.
A little bit.
Yeah,
you know, I've got a few emails saying,
okay,
you know, once you find out, you may want to book this hotel room, or once you find out if you get this, you might want to do that. I'm like, okay, does that mean what do we won the award, or what does that mean? So it was kind of waiting on pins and needles, finding out if we were able to win the Blue Ribbon Award.
Kim, we talk about in the end the comprehensiveness of the building, and we can't ever forget the parents. They're certainly a big reason why you're there working with their children. How do you connect parents with the goals of the building?
Well, with the goals of the building, I think that's kind of throughout our whole either parent orientation. You know, when we talk, it's kind of like our goals are the goals of the building and of the district. So constant communication, making them feel that we are approachable through, email anytime, meet with us anytime, excuse me, having conferences ready to go. If you're not available on conference night, please reach out to us. We'll find a time in the before school, after school, anytime.
That's really important, especially people don't always know the Wadsworth goals. We have a lot of houses. I walk my dog all over the town, and there are houses being built as we speak on all sorts of streets in town, and we have all sorts of people moving into Wadsworth. And how do you approach a new student, maybe a fourth grader? How do you go ahead and help them?
Well, I've gotten several new students, and it hasn't been the first day of school. And you just, Mr. Brady will bring them to our classroom, and you just get right down there, eye to eye with them, and say, "Oh my gosh, we're so glad you're here," and get our class to, introduce so-and-so to, Mr. Yoder when you go to music today, and, let's work with this person to, make sure you have someone to sit with at lunch and play with at recess. And, you have to start with that, building relationships and, meeting their siblings that are in the hallway with them, and any parents or guardians that are with them that day, and just making them feel welcome.
I think one of the more important parts too about Isham is that we house our ESL students, so our English as a second language. We get a lot of new families that are not just new to Wadsworth, they're new to the United States of America. So there's a language barrier there, and I feel as though when you're in front of these families or these children, they're very nervous about what they're about to encounter. And just your demeanor around those children and the families, just reassuring them with smiles and hugs that it's going to be okay, and we're here to support your family and your children. So,
and I think it's so important to bring the families in prior to them starting the first day of school. One thing that I know that we like to do is have them come in the day before and talk to the parents and talk to the students and walk them around the building and just get a feel for the building before they come in and start school that next day. And that seems to kind of alleviate some of their nervousness or anxiety they may have of starting school that next day. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, we don't know where they came from. Maybe there was a very, very small facility they came from, and this it looks like a Taj Mahal at Isham Elementary, and it really does probably relax them a little bit. Betsy, what about Dr. Hill was very proud of the fact that now we have a full-time counselor in every elementary building. How does a first grade teacher converse with the counselor and or the resource officer? Officer Dan, he travels all around the district, and he sometimes pops his head in Isham as well.
Well, first of all, we can't thank Dr. Hill and the administration enough, the board, for looking at this and for addressing it. It's a major concern for all of us right now coming off of COVID. There's a new anxiety level present, and it's difficult for us to manage in the classroom alone. And our students have really been able to just become more comfortable in the classroom by having those additional lessons from the counselor, by having an additional moment to speak with the counselor. The counselor's present every day, so she is seen in the building as, oh, there she is, give her a wave, When we, in the past, only had a counselor 1 or 2 days a week, they didn't have that familiarity and they weren't able to bond, and that's really difficult. So this has really been a wonderful blessing for our community. Officer Dan, I can't say enough about. He's amazing. The kids absolutely love when he comes in. We torture him a little in the first grade classroom. He's always leaving with a costume of some sort. He's a very good sport. But yes, we are, again, fortunate that the kids are able to see how we work with the police community and how they are normal humans and they just want the best for you too. So
sometimes we don't realize what families go through with financial problem with inflation. It's still not going away. In fact, last month they said it went up a little bit more with people losing jobs, with grandparents passing away. There's a lot of trauma and a lot of situations that family goes through, and having a full-time counselor to know maybe ahead of time about some of those things, I'm sure helps, right, Betsy?
Absolutely. We recently just had a student, and one of the parents is being deployed, and that was a lot for for the family. So we were fortunate that we were able to work with the counselor on that and just make a good plan to be there extra for that student.
And our counselors do such a great job of letting parents know, hey, there's resources that are out there, especially here in Wadsworth. So our counselor is able to talk to the families and maybe hook them up with those resources they may need. So that's been just what an amazing thing, having our counselors in the building and be able to help not only students but parents as well.
Especially if they're not from the area,
Yes.
especially if they're coming in, as we've talked about, people that really are new to Ohio and especially
Yes.
Wadsworth, and there are some agencies, and we talked again last Friday about Salvation Army, and they have all sorts of programs to help, and all sorts of other places as well. So they really do emulate that and really help a lot of parents.
They do.
Steve, why don't you tell us about the trip? You had a trip to, who went with you to Washington, D.C.?
Sure. So the ceremony was in November.
Okay.
And I had the pleasure to go with Dr. Hill and Nance Watts went as well.
Okay. Wow.
So the three of us were there. And just really just an amazing trip. Being able to be in a big ballroom in Washington, D.C. with all 50 states represented there, and having the U.S. Department of Education talk. I think it's Miguel, help me out, Bruce, you said earlier.
Carmona, yeah.
Miguel Carmona,
Yeah,
thank you.
right.
He was able to speak to us and talk to us a little bit about public education.
Right.
And it was really, really amazing, and I'm so blessed to be a part of that. And so they called each school up, and then went by alphabetical order. Didn't go by Wadsworth City Schools. That's good because we would have been way at the end.
That's right.
And it took quite a long time. So
Okay, well.
Isham, we were right in the middle there. So we were able to walk up there and get our picture taken, shake hands, and just enjoy the moment. And it was pretty cool, pretty amazing.
And I'm sure you were able to talk to some people from other states and
yes.
maybe compare notes
We
a
did,
little bit,
yeah.
what some of the things they're doing. The interaction with other people is pretty exciting.
That was really neat. Just talking about what worked for you, the application process, how they went through it. So it was just good to compare notes and just talk with them and just see how things are going and the involvement that their staff had to get to this great award as well. So.
Kim, what about any comments that you had? I would imagine that people that maybe had retired or left the building, this had something to do with them too, because you mentioned about the foundation and the people coming before you set the tone for the building. I'm sure they were very proud of the award.
Excuse me, yes, we've had teachers retire that worked diligently, and we reached out to them and asked them to help us, with parts of the application as well. And remind me about the second part of your question.
Well, I mean, you any parents or other teachers in the district or outside
yeah.
the district say, hey, that was pretty nifty, you guys won that award.
Yes, I do believe Dr. Hill asked us to stand at one of the staff meetings or the
board meetings.
Well, yeah, the board
board
meeting,
meetings,
and so that was exciting as well. So,
I had several people just email randomly and just say, I saw that you guys were blue ribbon. That's amazing, and that felt really good. So.
Yeah.
So Bruce, speaking of past staff members and administrators and so forth, if I could put a plug in,
Sure.
Can't believe that Isham is going to be 100 years old. Oh, yeah. This is our 100-year anniversary.
Wow.
So 1923 to 2023. So this March 23rd, we are having an open house, a 100-year celebration. So we're going to tie in the 100-year celebration, a little bit of the blue ribbon. And so any staff members, anybody who went to Isham Elementary, would love for you to come and stop by Isham Elementary between 6 and 7:30 that evening and just celebrate Isham being 100 years old.
That is quite an accomplishment. That is no question about it. And again, hopefully a lot of past staff members will come.
Past students.
And
yes.
again, maybe some bus drivers
Sure.
and cooks, custodians, and those very important people as well.
Yep.
We were talking off camera last time about a buddy bench. Outside, you kind of take over a little bit outside once in a while. And what is a buddy bench?
Our buddy bench, that's our counselor came up with that a couple years ago.
Yep.
And that is outside on our playground, where if a student may not have somebody to play with, they'll sit on the buddy bench, and it actually says buddy bench on it, and a student will sit there, and you know, other kids will come up and say, "Hey, are you okay? Do you want to come play with me?" And once they sit on that bench, that means they have to say yes. We want to make sure they play, and that's just a good way to get students who may not have someone to play with that day, or maybe just need, you know, a little extra help getting them to run around and have a good time. Students will go up to them and say, "Hey, you want to come play with us?" And 9 times out of 10, boy, that frown will turn upside down and smile, and yeah, let's go play, and they'll run off and play on the playground. So that's our buddy bench.
Could be they had a bad day in class
Could be,
too. Maybe
yeah.
maybe a Kim's class, one young man maybe acted out or something, and he just wasn't having a good day from the time he got up, and maybe he wanted to sit down a little bit and maybe get a little counseling and help from. And sometimes we underestimate what peers can do to other peers, right?
Yeah.
They can
Oh, yeah.
really
They
really
roll
help
up.
things out, as you indicated.
Yep,
The
absolutely.
world could use a few more buddy benches.
I think you're right, no question about it. What about we talked about the comprehensiveness of the application. Were there any surprises? Were there some areas that you think you can really even improve a little bit more? We know that certainly you made the grade in so many areas, and you touched students' lives in a lot of different ways. Kim, was there anything that you saw that maybe Isham could do a little better?
Well, I worked on my part of the
Right,
application,
sure.
so I'm not sure about
Okay.
all the other parts.
All
Do
right.
you-
Since we've applied,
Right.
we've added preschool to our Ishamness, and that's been extremely exciting to have those little ones in the building. So that's definitely something that we're getting used to, and we're enjoying even more support staff coming in to help with those students.
So you didn't have preschool before? That was just
Right.
You had space.
Right.
A lot of times, facilities limit us in what we can do, but it sounds like you had the capacity to add that.
Well, we added it.
So, some way, shape, or form
Yeah,
you did,
exactly.
right?
So, but and that's been really nice. We've enjoyed working with those new staff members too. And I'm sorry, but anytime a preschooler walks in the door, it just puts a smile on your face. You
does.
can't not smile when they're walking through, because they never walk. They're hopping or skipping or bouncing. So we've really enjoyed having those kiddos with us. And I think too, again, you know, just having our diverse population with all of our new students from several different countries, and we have several languages spoken in Isham right now, and that has just been an awesome challenge for the staff to embrace, and I think that it's really starting to really form who we are as Isham as well. It's building our diversity, and it's really causing us to really dive into a bunch of different cultures. So that's been really exciting, and we've really had an increase of that since we applied for the award. So that's.
I would second that with Betsy. I think that the ELL populations, we're learning a lot. We're learning as we go, because we're getting families from Ukraine and Brazil,
Yeah, Brazil.
and Japan, all different types of cultures. And so I think we're learning, and it's been a great experience. Good for me. I know all of us are
Absolutely.
learning. Just being able to help those students the best that we can.
As a supervised student teachers, you can say the other way, that we learned from the student teachers, or you learned from the students, and to maybe appreciate that we are, a shrinking world, that what happens in Brazil or Ukraine certainly has an impact on the United States and Ohio and Wadsworth, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
What about the situation where people in Wadsworth really like the K through 4 concept? They like the smaller facilities. Kim, do you think that's the, I see other buildings and other districts build, K6 buildings, and there's a lot of students there. But Wadsworth has kind of looked at it a little differently to have that K4 structure. Is that do you think there's advantages to that?
Yes, we do have a lot of kids that walk to school with their parents, or once they're old enough, walk on their own. Whenever I'm talking to people outside of Wadsworth and they ask me how many fourth grade teachers I work with, and I say 3, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, well, then I have to explain, because it's not common. I explain that we have 5 K to 4 buildings, and it's unique.
Since I have the role of literacy coach, I'm able to be in all 5 of those buildings, and it is really interesting to see how similar we all are. Even though we're all kind of separate, we all have the same goal, and the kids all have the same goal. So we share that grisliness, and we're really just trying to make Wadsworth shine in the future with these kiddos that are going through.
And that neighborhood school concept, you have families for many, many years. I mean, I remember I had one family, they're like, their child was graduating from 4th grade, and they're like, I've been here, I think it was like 17 years, because they had, their oldest ones went through, and they were in preschool, like, I can't believe it, I've been here for so long, this is it. So just that familyness that you get to have with those being in our community, it's great. So.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I learned a lot about Isham and your wonderful award, and everyone should be very proud of your accomplishment, and I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very
We've
much.
done the past shows recently with Salvation Army Auxiliary, and they have a big weekend this week. Their big fundraiser is at the Galaxy. And also Clay Wenger was on recently, the head wrestling coach, and I don't know if this show gave him luck, but all 14 Grizzlies will be advancing to the district tournament in Canton this weekend. So I'm sure the Grizzlies will do very well again. Thanks for viewing Bruce on the Loose. Perfect.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.